guys, we are back. We are here to talk about the team with the number 1 pick, the Arizona Cardinals 2019 Draft Recap. First round.
Kyler Murray, go get your guy. Go get your guy. I mean, this was the worst kept secret throughout the entire NFL draft process this season. Obviously, there were a lot of connections in terms of Kliff Kingsbury, the new head coach in Arizona, his affinity for Kyler Murray, the system, what are we going to do with Josh Rosen? It all played out how most of us anticipated it would play out. We would have done things a little bit differently, but, it's hard to argue with going to go get your guy. They did get some compensation for Josh Rosen, considered a sunk cost, frankly. But the way I look at it is, when you're thinking glass half full, the Cardinals drafted the top 2 quarterbacks the last 2 seasons, in my opinion.
Yeah, there was both the quarterback one on my list, Rosen and Kyler Murray. But it's just a perfect marriage with Kliff Kingsbury. He said, if I had a number 1 pick, I'm getting Kyler Murray. And he got the number 1 pick and got Kyler Murray. It just fits his offense. It's going to have a wide open spread offense. It's going to be horizontally, vertically. It's going to be a lot of receivers on the football field. So having a guy like Kyler Murray, what Kyler Murray does better than Josh Rosen is he could get out and get away from pressure.
Sure.
The offensive line, we'll talk about it a little later. It's not where it's supposed to be right now, but Kyler Murray could kind of evade some pass rushers, get the ball out of his hands quickly to the wide receivers.
Yeah.
I was listening to Peter King talk, and he was talking about how Josh Rosen was in the building walking around, and he saw Michael Bidwell, and Michael Bidwell didn't look him in the eyes. So Josh Rosen knew, I think it was a couple days before the draft, he knew, okay, I'm not going to be here.
Right.
So, can I talk about that trade real quick?
Sure.
Just the way it was handled.
We're all talking quarterbacks right now.
I think Steve Keim and the organization in that fashion, they failed. They failed because if you know that's your guy, that's the number 1 pick. You know who you picking. That's what you're doing. Get on the phone and call the 3-4 teams that are looking for a quarterback and let's just make a deal. Hey man, listen. He's on the table. Best offer. Call me back in an hour. Call me back in 2 hours, and just lay it out there. Don't wait till day 2 after you've made your selection because you've lost leverage. I mean, you're sunk costs.
Yeah, there was a school of thought that they should have either traded him in advance of the draft or held out. I don't know exactly if that would have yielded what you were looking for.
Yeah.
I think they identified a player in Andy Isabella that they liked. They got the pick to acquire him, but I thought personally, they should have traded Josh Rosen maybe a week before the draft actually started.
Yeah, that's how I would handle it. With the 33rd pick, Arizona Cardinals, they went out and they got number 1 corner.
DBU. Byron Murphy.
Here we go, bro.
From Washington. This guy was a first-round talent, so it's a steal that it could get him in the top of the 2nd round. I think he's going to fit perfectly in the slot corner, nickel corner. They signed Robert Alford to play outside with Patrick Peterson. If he's still on the team, because there's some rumors going around about Pat Pete, but I think Murphy, he could play inside or outside, but I like him right there on the inside in sub packages.
Yeah, I think he can play inside or outside, but like you said, he's probably going to be on the He's probably going to be inside. If not, he's going to take Patrick Peterson's spot because it's still circling. It's still circling, but we'll
take. I wouldn't use that.
No, take. Not take. He's going to replace. Is that better?
No,
because I know
the connotation isn't in there. I understand the business of it. Actually, Byron Murphy is the 15th ranked prospect on the CPGM top 50. Murray being the 20th ranked prospect. So you get 2 top 50 picks or 2 top 50 players according to our rankings within the first 33 picks. You're doing well. You're doing well. There's no question about it. And 2 top 20 players as opposed to just the top 50. So I like the addition of Murphy. We've talked about it a long time. They've been looking for that guy opposite Pat Pete for basically the duration of Pat Pete's career. Aside from maybe a few years of Antonio Cromartie, I mean, they've been looking for that guy for a long time. Hopefully Byron Murphy, considering where the league has gone, that nickel position is a starting position. So, there's no, whether he's inside or outside the numbers, his addition goes a long way to helping that back end.
Yeah, definitely, man. If we think about the defense, Steve Wilkes, he was one and done, just like Josh Rosen, one and done. Steve Wilkes did square peg, round hole. He tried to change that 3-4 defense to a 4-3 defense. Never a good idea if the personnel doesn't match up. They bring in Vance Joseph. He's going back to the 3-4 defense. Got Chandler Jones, Terrell Suggs on the edges. And Yeah, they're going to set probably more pressure. They're going to probably set more pressure and you rely on the corners, man.
And it's not only the square peg round hole. It's you're learning a new defense, so everybody's playing. No one's playing as fast as they want to play because they're thinking, okay, I'm supposed to be over here. But now you're going back to, like you said, a defense where you can just play fast and react. So it should be just by that default. It should be better. Period.
Yeah, and now Patrick Peterson could travel now because Steve Wilkes wouldn't allow Patrick Peterson.
You're not utilizing your chess pieces if you got Patrick Peterson playing one side of the field. You're just not. And as we're talking about scheme and coaches, you can go back to the offensive side of the ball. Talk about Kliff Kingsbury. You mentioned it. We're anticipating spread. We're anticipating tempo. My only caution with that is you need to protect your defense sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to get up and down the field because it's that track meet in the Big 12. That's not that won't be sustainable. That won't be sustainable. We've seen that before. Exactly. It was the flavor du jour, and then it petered off, and Chip Kelly is back in the collegiate ranks. So I understand that Kyler Murray has the ability to extend plays and not just the ability to. It's not just a matter of improvising. No, this guy's a threat. He's a legitimate threat. But again, when it comes down to it, 3rd and long, when you got to get it protected up front, let's make no mistake. Even with Kyler Murray, all of his physical tools and all of his athleticism, he still played behind probably the best offensive line in college football last year. So you have to keep that in mind. And the Cardinals obviously addressed the offensive line in terms of J.R. Sweezy, Marcus Gilbert. But is that enough? That's really my question mark. So then you get to the second of 2 second-round picks, and that's where
we went offensive line. No, we went Andy Isabella, receiver out of UMass, and when you start to look at teams draft, the first round, you're like, okay, we got that guy. This is what he's going to do for us. And then you get to the 2nd and 3rd round, and the picks start coming out, and you start to understand where the team is going. And with this pick, with the offensive lineman still on the board, probably should have went there. Maybe some of you feel that way, some of you don't. The picture for me is starting to be painted. We are okay with what we have.
Sure.
Okay, and what we need is weapons, because that's what Rosen didn't have last year. Although
Rosen didn't have weapons. He didn't have an offensive scheme, an offensive line. Play caller got fired twice in the middle of the season in back-to-back seasons.
We weren't utilizing our best weapon.
Nope.
It wasn't good. But what this says to me is that we need weapons, and we're going to get him weapons. And drafting an Andy Isabella, we're talking about speed. We're talking about a guy who can catch a pass, take it the distance. We're talking about a guy who can open things up underneath. He can open things up vertically, horizontally. So this is a chess piece that's needed on this team, and I know they have Christian Kirk as well. Season. So I mean, to me, it just screams college offense, wide open, and we're gonna see if this can work.
Let Murray distribute. That's the thought process. Murray will be in the shotgun a ton. I imagine there'll be 3 to 4 receivers on the field, most snaps, even 5. Considering, because we'll get to the remainder of these draft picks here momentarily. The thought process that came to mind with me, and we talked about it off air in terms of maybe this was a good opportunity to bolster that offensive line. I just thought Jakeem Grant. When you look at Texas Tech, even Kiki QT, their final seasons at Texas Tech and the numbers that they put up, Andy Isabella had better numbers. You know what I mean? But he has a very similar skill set, in my opinion, with a bit more polish in terms of being outside the numbers than Jakeem Grant. Now, I anticipate Isabella playing in the slot quite a bit at the NFL level. And if you notice during the Senior Bowl practices, there's some nuance associated with that, finding the spots in the zones, the option routes that he has to work on. I imagine they're going to find very unique ways to get him touches, and he's going to be a problem.
Definitely, man, like the jet sweep motions, he got a lot of touches like that in college. And you think about Kingsbury offense and how spread it is, even if he's in the slot, he might be closer to the numbers because it's going to be a wide open offense. And he could win from the slot inside. Once he catches the football, he has 4.3 speed. He could track the football deep. So he's a very talented player. It's just, I always go back to offensive line. Maybe that's the pick they should have made in hindsight with what they did later on. Added more receivers, maybe the offensive line would be better there. But, Kliff Kingsbury in the 2nd round targeted this guy. He coveted this Isabella, and he got his guy.
With the next pick, 3rd round, 65th pick overall, they went out and they got a Boston College defensive end, Zach Allen. And I liken this guy to a lesser, got in the notes, lesser version of Clelin Ferrell. He doesn't do anything. So we talked about it earlier off there. I was talking about Clelin Ferrell, and he doesn't do anything excellent, but he does everything great. I think Zach Allen does everything good. So you're taking we're going down a level and played in a 3-4 and a 4-3. I mean,
that's scheme versatility.
Scheme man. He played a lot on the edge at Boston College. He also slid inside. I think in Arizona's 3-4 defense, he's going to be that 5 technique.
Sure.
Yep. He's going to be that inside rusher.
Passing downs.
Yeah. Good edge setter. He's not the athletic guy, but he's just a hard-nosed guy.
High motor also
that they will need.
I want to put on my ski mask. I want to put on my shades because I feel like the Arizona Cardinals in the 4th round was at 103rd pick stole Hakeem Butler.
Yeah. Started off day 3.
That's a steal. I know it was a lot of hype on Hakeem Butler, a lot of first-round hype. I didn't have him that high, but to get him in the 4th round, like you said, man, that's a big steal. And I look at him as the Larry Fitzgerald replacement. Larry Fitzgerald's coming up.
Replacement?
Yeah, it's going to replace. What's wrong with the word replacement? His successor, Hakeem Butler. He's a big guy like Fitzgerald. This guy, acrobatic catches. The thing about Butler, he misses the easy ones, and he makes acrobatic ones. He just got to have more consistency, more nuance in his route running, because he's a beast after the catch. Once he gets the football, he's a beast, and I think he would be better in the slot for Kyler Murray.
Imagine him getting with Larry Fitzgerald and Larry for the year that he's here, to be able to teach him those nuances and get his game a little bit better. Because like you said, after the catch ability is one of the top in the class. So imagine just giving him a year what Hakeem Butler could turn into.
That may have something to do with the fact that why they drafted as many receivers as they did. They do have Larry Fitzgerald in that receiver room. This is the opportunity. We assume this will be his last year. I felt like we've been saying that for the last couple of years, but this may actually be Larry Fitzgerald's last year. You want to be able to pick that brain. You want those young receivers to be around him, soaking up all of that knowledge. And I think we're going to get to yet another receiver who, again, very productive receivers, all of their selections. I think Arizona just stayed true to their board. Now, whether or not we agree that they shouldn't have prioritized that offensive line, we're going to keep coming back to that, thinking, because our mindset is that the best teams are formalized inside out, but this is a very different offense with a very unique signal caller. So I think they just stuck to their board. I think they just realized that Butler at the top of the 4th round to start day 3, the value's just too good. It's just too good at that point. You understand what I'm saying? And then, of course, Andy Isabella at the bottom of the 2nd round. Again, a guy that went to the Senior Bowl, very productive, uber productive, has speed to attack vertically and horizontally, as you mentioned. This is obviously an assumption on my behalf, but I think because they drafted as many receivers as they did, I think they just realized that those guys, we graded them high, they're available, we're going to be true to our board, and selected them.
In the 5th round, 115th pick, they got Deionte Thompson. Do you think he fell? Safety from Alabama?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you talked about the middle of the season, he was like a 1st round borderline pick. He tailed off to the end of the season, but to get him in the 5th round is a steal again. Like you said, man, Arizona, they stuck to their board. They picked the best player available. Teams that pick the best player available, they usually are in a good place at the end of the day. And Thompson would just add more depth behind Buda Baker, DJ Swearinger. This guy's I look at him as a free safety. His strengths are closing quickly to the football and ball skills. So, have a depth piece there. Can't go wrong there, man. Talented player.
And I like him better in the box.
Yeah.
And coming downhill on blitzes, he's a good timing blitzer. So, when you talk about a 3-4 defense, you talk about a Terrell Suggs, Chandler Jones, you talk about what we call it? Legos type of defense, or pieces are being moved, post-snap, pre-snap, all that, and you're not sure what you're getting as a quarterback. This is a nice piece to have. Can never have too many DB, secondary safeties, corners.
Teams are rolling out packages with 3 safeties these days. Buda Baker obviously has the ability to play in the slot as well. So it really does help the team be multiple and match up against, and then ultimately I think long term, I would imagine the thought process is he and Buda Baker are your mainstays on the back end.
Eventually, yeah. All right, man. Well, in the 6th round, because they got 2 picks in the 6th round with the 174th pick, Keesean Johnson from Fresno State, wide receiver. I'm watching this dude play in the slot. I call it the inner slot, the middle slot, the outside, all that. Him running his routes, he doesn't do it with suddenness. He doesn't do it with quickness. It's slippery. It's like I'm gonna lean on you and then I'm gonna make my move and I'm open. And he's a big body.
Yeah, I liked him, man. When I watched this tape, man, he jumped off the screen. He surprised me. I didn't know what to expect, and I seen him. I'm like, whoa. He looked like the next Devontae Adams out here. Ooh. They went to the same high school, went to the same college. You could tell he patented his game after Devontae Thompson. He's not Devontae Adams, but he's an exceptional route runner, quick feet, 50-50 ball, yards after the catch. He was very productive. It's a lot to like about Keesean. He's just not the sparky, the athletic guy, but it's a lot to like about his game.
And then when you juxtapose the productivity and you likened him a bit to Davante Adams, you start to think about what he can do after the catch. Hakeem Butler after the catch, Andy Isabella after the catch, Christian Kirk after the catch. Yeah. It's about, as you mentioned at the top of this video, get the ball out quickly to the playmakers, let Murray be that point guard and distribute, let your playmakers make plays after the catch. You know what I mean? We're talking about attacking horizontally. The receivers are going to have to get that yak. They're going to have to, because again, you have questions as to whether or not this offensive line is going to be able to hold up in order to push the football deep down the field.
All right, so with the second 6th round pick that they had, 179th pick overall, they got center out of Georgia, Lamont Gaillard. Watching Gaillard, I can't talk, Gaillard, the one thing that I really noticed is that he doesn't have a whole lot of power, but he's headsy, he's aware as a center. That's what you want. You want a guy who's, not going to look one way and here comes a blitzer, free blitzer. He's always
right up to the A gap.
Yeah, but Kyler Murray got it though. He's good. He's good. Yeah. But he's headsy, always looking for the free blitzer, always willing to help and out there to help, but also his feet. He has light feet and he's better at moving horizontally than he is vertically.
Yeah, I think this was one of the Cardinals' better picks. The value here. We spoke about offensive line. They finally went to the offensive line. I think he's going to start eventually for the Arizona Cardinals. Like you said, I think he's a high IQ player. He's gritty. I like his hands. His hand usage is good as well. Like you said, his feet also. I saw the game against Alabama and against Quentin Williams, and he held his own pretty good against Quentin Williams, our #1 player. So you know that he has some talent.
248th pick, the Cardinals, they went out and they got Joshua Miles from Morgan State, offensive tackle. This, again, is one of those things where you go out and you draft. In the 7th round, we talk about it every year. You go out and you draft guys either with great physical tools, if you will, measurables, or super sparky. And this is one of those guys you feel like, okay, he has what we need. He has what we want in terms of size and arm length and all that. And you develop him into, you want to develop him into a starter at some point, or in this case, a swing tackle of some sort, a guy who can,
It affords you time. It affords you time to develop a guy like that.
Like physical trait, 36-inch arms, versatility. You can play tackle or guard. So 7th round pick, why not?
With the next pick in the 7th round, they also had the 249th pick. Chose Michael Dogbe, defensive end from Temple.
He's a situational pass rusher. Uses his hands really well. I guess his issue right now is just his leverage. Sometimes it comes up too high, and it could affect him in the run game.
And with the last pick, the 254th pick, the Cardinals selected...
Mr. Irrelevant.
That is?
Is it? My guy.
Wow. Caleb Wilson, UCLA. What is he?
Tight end.
I got tackle right here. I know I missed the E in there. I was like, oh, right? Somewhere right. I knew it was a tight end. I didn't go back and change it, but go ahead.
Yeah, man. Caleb Wilson, man. 2017 Texas A&M game, man. Just go back to that game.
That's what you always go back to.
He dominated that game. He looked like tight end one in that game. He reminds me of Jared Cook a little bit.
Quarterback?
Josh Rosen.
Yeah, quarterback.
That was that comeback.
Remember that game?
Yeah, I remember.
So yeah, he reminds me of Jared Cook, man. He's not a shifty guy. He's a long strider, straight line type of guy, but he looks good, man. And some inconsistencies in pass blocking and things of that nature. But in this Kingsbury wide open offense, he's a good piece behind Charles Clay, man.
All right, guys, that was the Arizona Cardinal Draft Recap 2019. Let us know what you think. What are your thoughts on your team? Like, subscribe, comment, and if you think we were wrong, let us know in the comment section. If you think we were right, let us know in the comment section, man. Spread the word.